Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boleyn Lounge and our first Tuesday talk show of the new year. And Happy New Year to you all. Thanks for joining us. Hope you had a great festive period. I'm joined this evening with Budgie. How are you, Budgie? Thanks for joining me.
All right, yeah. Good evening, mate. Yeah, no, there's no problem. Our first one of the new year. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
good to be back. It's been a while, and we've missed a
yeah,
few games on this channel. Too many to kind of recap on over, and there's a lot going on. In the news over the last couple of days, but I'd kind of like to touch on at least the City game before we move too far
yeah,
onto
no problem.
non-footballing matters, because a lot
Yeah,
of people thought it was a bit better performance despite the scoreline.
yeah,
And my view is I kind of agree and disagree at the same time. Uh, Bottom line is we can't score goals, and we can't defend. We can't keep goals out.
mm,
What was in between was a little bit better, I thought, against City, and we actually played some forward passes that,
yeah,
through instead of just all side to side, there were some forward passes, and it
yeah.
made us look a lot better.
And I
And
thought
on an
actually we got a lot better once Somerville got on as well.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing though. It's hard to say how good a performance it is when you're 4-0 down after an hour all the time. The other team's not
Yeah.
really playing to their full potential anymore, are they?
Nah,
So I
nah.
thought for about half an hour-ish, 35 minutes, thought we were really quite good against City, giving them a game.
Yeah,
Could have scored, didn't take our chances, just for a bit of poor decision making and a bit of lack of composure with our finishing. We couldn't score, right?
yeah,
Bit
yeah.
unlucky with their first goal. I can't believe Alvarez ducked out of that header. I don't know what's going on there.
Nah,
Soufal's a bit
nah.
unlucky. But
Yeah,
after 35 minutes or so, we started to lose our discipline a bit, I thought. We started
yeah,
to lose that shape that had done so well for half an hour. And all of a sudden, we started facing our own goal. And we're shit when we're running towards our own goal. They turned us a number of occasions before they scored that second. And so what a dreadful goal. I mean, Soufal's been gone by like he's not there. I mean, that's
yeah,
too easy. He's
yeah.
awful
Far
in
too
that
easy.
moment. What the hell Areola is doing and how he's got stuck quite underneath that ball, I don't know. Kilman knows Haaland's behind him, but he still seems to be able to pull off his shoulder. And Wan-Bissaka, who's the other side of Kilman, moves into the space where there's no danger whatsoever in between
Yeah,
Kilman and Areola. I
yeah.
just look at all of those actions and think, what were any of you doing, right?
Hmm.
The
I
third
mean,
goal,
you
I
probably
think the
saw.
third goal, Alvarez
Yeah,
gets caught up the pitch. Wan-Bissaka's, I think, further up the pitch than he is.
yeah, yeah,
And the focus is on Kilman because he looked like Savinio running through the. Alvarez is treading water 5 yards behind him. He's got no chance. He's got all the time in the world.
yeah,
We turned into Burnley for the fourth goal.
yeah.
Right. I mean, every one of those goals completely avoidable. And from our perspective, absolutely shocking. And
Yeah.
another day, yeah, we could have scored 2 or 3 goals, right? But it kind of don't matter if you're giving away goals like that, does it? You can't
No,
win
I
games of
mean,
football.
the thing is, I mean, you probably saw more of the game than I did because I was watching it on my phone, but I was also involved in a darts competition at the same time. So I saw very little of it, if I'm honest. Um, but, I saw the replays of the goals, etc. And yeah, I have to agree, we were we were treading water for most of the game. And yeah, okay, there was some good play once we were 4-0 down. But then by that time, it's too late, you know. We started tightening up a little bit at the back. Too late by then. 4 goals have already gone in, you know.
I don't blame you, Soga. Sorry, Badgie, I didn't mean to
No, it's all
interrupt.
right. It's all right. They're saying hello to the chatters. It's good. Let's
Just
do
in
that.
chat and I say hello to everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining us all and happy new year to all of you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was
Yeah.
starting to think. I mean, we move on to the Lopetegui stuff, which is obviously hot in the news now.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it. You can understand why. Um, I was beginning to think after being humped by Liverpool and then getting beat 4-1 at City that if he wasn't getting sacked after that, he was going to be here for the season.
Yeah.
I was starting to get to that, subscribe to that point of view. And then, of course, yesterday, the news broke about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Talk Sport, about Lopetegui's been sacked, and then the complete circus that's ensued since then is where we're at now. And as far as I'm aware, prior to us going live, he's still at the football club and he held training today. It's an absolute joke, isn't it, mate? I think Budgie's. Are you busy,
Sorry.
Budgie?
Yeah.
I'll carry.
I was just dealing with something with my son, and the dog got in here, and he was being a pain. Sorry. I was listening, but I was also. Good
Yeah,
evening,
no,
my
well, I'm
friend.
just saying what a circus it has been since yesterday afternoon.
It's been horrendous, and I mean, I've got to be honest with you. The 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 thing that's frustrated me most of all is that we heard sort of midway during the morning that Lopetegui has been fired. Talk Sport were all over it, blah 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 blah. And then today, I watched a Talk Sport video on YouTube, and what's his name? Simon Jordan is saying, how do these stories get out? I mean, it's crazy. There's been no movement, no word from the club, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, you work for the bloody broadcaster that broke the news, allegedly, you know. How can there be such disharmony within such an organisation? And then I look at West Ham and I think, actually, it's pretty bloody easy because there's that much disenchantment and disorganisation within our club that the left hand don't know what the right hand's doing. And I've looked a little bit at some of the stuff that's been posted on some of the forums, etc. And most people are still unsure of what the situation is with Lopetegui, including West Ham Network, Hammers Chat, Claret and Booze, all of the other channels, all the big channels, they're all still unclear about what the situation is, and a lot of it is speculation. And getting to the point that I started with, the thing that's annoying me the most is that this speculation was started by Talksport, and now they're retracting their statement and asking where it's come from, or at least certain members of their staff are. And it's just typical of like a lopsided organisation like that, and it's caused a lot of uproar. Imagine how Julian Lopetegui must have felt at training today, having all of that out in the open.
I think it's absolutely appalling the
Yeah,
way, and I've got no great affiliation to Julian Lopetegui, and I do
yeah,
think he should be sacked as West Ham manager, and I don't think
yeah,
he's doing a
I
very good
agree.
job, right? But behaving in this way and treating the guy this way is not acceptable. It is
It isn't.
wrong.
It's almost like whipping the guy, publicly. flogging him. It's ridiculous. And another point on that is, like there are rumours that this information was leaked to Talksport by either Sullivan or Steidten. Now, this is all conjecture. It's all hearsay. And until the truth comes out, if ever it does, I really don't want to comment on those kinds of things about where the information may have come from or anything. But having said that, some people have made a very valid point that Sullivan has done this kind of action before to move things along in his favour.
The speculation about Sullivan and how he behaves and leaks things into the media and uses his contacts, so it could very easily be Sullivan. Fingers are being pointed at Steidten, who's perfectly capable of doing the same and has done. So it could be either of them. Personally, I actually don't care which one it is. I think either
It's
or.
not important, is it?
It's shitty behaviour, right?
It is.
Cynical part of me actually thinks, and you think that they couldn't go this low. But if you look at the Avram Grant thing, like they didn't want to let him on the bus home, stuff like that. They are low. This is how low they are. And I wouldn't be surprised if they thought, do you know what? This guy's on the edge, right? He's emotionally in a really bad place, right? He's just lost his father. He's got all those pressures.
I
He
bet I
was
know what you're
told,
going to say.
yeah, and he was told you can't lose between now and Liverpool, which in
Yeah.
fairness to him, however unconvincingly, he managed to not lose.
Yeah.
Then it was, if you get hammered at Liverpool, your job's online, right? Which he duly went and got hammered.
Completely, yeah.
They just turn in and really for quite some time they've been undermining him by one way or another, whether that be Steidten or Sullivan, through
Discredit
leaks here.
him, make him walk, save ourselves a few million.
All the public stuff that comes out about all of the little incidents that have happened through West Ham, or not so little incidents, right? Yeah, I'm not unconvinced that they're not trying to make him just force him out the door. And I just think it's disgraceful. They can't even sack someone with decency, in my opinion. And all of this now with Potter and being reported is on the verge, and contract details out already. Yeah, that hasn't been signed or accepted yet.
Yeah.
It's how can it all be so public? It's disgraceful. They should just sack the man. They clearly want to, so just sack him, pay him off. I actually don't care who's in charge for the next game. I would rather they sacked him if that's what their intention is, and put whoever in charge.
I mean, I've got to be honest.
Potter, and if Potter turns around and says no, they're going to look absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
there's even a part of me that kind of wants him to, but not really, because the consequences are, what do we get after that?
Especially now that the news has broken that on Friday last week, the club, being Sullivan and Steidten, both interviewed Paulo Fonseca. That is now public knowledge.
On Friday, apparently.
On Friday, yeah. Now, that I did get from Gonzo on Amma's chat, but also confirmed in not so many words by Sky Sports News. So, I mean, like they said, and it is claimed, and we have good, our sources have good reason to believe that it's true. So they've more or less said the same thing, that he was interviewed on Friday, and they actually want Potter because it's the cheaper option. Fonseca wants to bring all his coaches with him. Potter's only got a handful of coaches that will come with him. In fact, while he's on gardening leave, I think most of his coaches are actually in work elsewhere.
Yeah, some of the guys who worked with him previously have definitely got jobs. I don't know about all of them.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, going back to Lopetegui here now,
Yeah.
like they're breaking it around 3 o'clock on crowing about it on Talk Sport. Lopetegui's still sat at his desk at West Ham at gone 4 o'clock. Reports are he's stormed out in a half. Can't fucking blame the bloke, can you?
I
I'd be pretty fucking pissed off if I was still
would be
working
too.
away in my office,
I'd
yeah.
be walking straight
And
up to Sullivan and saying, "Give me my
yeah,
dough, I'm off."
do you know, I just they have
And
got
that's what
no
they want,
class
mate.
about them
That's what
whatsoever.
they want. It's going to cost them something like 3 million less to let him walk rather than sack him. So I think that's probably one of their angles. That Sullivan's like he's dirty work. Oh, I don't like the way he works. And it's probably in fairness to Lopetegui, love him or hate him, he's being hounded out of his job,
Yeah, he is.
and he's being embarrassed publicly by the club and other sources. And who's on his side actually at this moment in time? Because nobody's actually come out and sort of said, look, this man is actually still in the job.
The most people I think are on his side right now are the fans, and I don't actually think that means that they want him to keep his job, right?
No, no,
But
look,
I
I'm
think they
one of
do
these.
want him to be dealt with a bit of decency.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
send him on his way and
Either
pay
give
the
the
man.
man his golden handshake and say goodbye, or shut up, leave him to it until the summer when he's, can be replaced, with plenty of interviews in between time, you know.
Sullivan's own silly mistake, right? That we're where we are now, right?
Mm,
And now he hasn't even got the bollocks to just come out, sack the man, and pay him. He's got to try and be so underhand about it.
yeah,
Just really sickens me. I think, I, I think it's just shocking. I really do.
yeah.
And there's a couple of comments here about you being on a naughty step, Budgie. What's that about? Budgie was caught out like a naughty schoolboy there. Toha says.
Well,
Usual says you're so close to being put on the naughty step. What's that about, Budge? I don't know. I must have missed something.
I don't know, mate. I have no idea.
You'll have to let us know, guys.
Yeah, come on.
Colin says, guys, that story has I ever been brokered by either Sullivan or Stuyton. That's what Colin thinks. I think he's
I
probably
agree.
about
I
right there.
agree.
Ian
I
says,
agree.
I expect it may have been leaked from the club, possibly from board level. I think as the club that are a shambles. I totally agree. I think we've got real problems in a football club. We've got too many cooks at the top, right?
Yeah,
Which I think doesn't help. I think since Gold's gone, I think
yeah.
it's worse. You think
Mm.
about it, I think he actually was invested in the club and he cared about the club
Yeah,
and it mattered
David
to him.
Gold was a true West Ham fan.
Yeah. And
I
I
know
don't
that
think his
for
family,
100% he was a
yeah,
fan.
and I don't think his family nearly as invested and
No,
interested in West Ham as he is. So
no.
when it comes to the decision making, Sullivan's sort of like out on a limb, and now it's been diluted the way it has through Kretinsky. That are lots of people say about a 2 or 3 year plan to buy the club, and this. I think he's purely a businessman who saw West Ham as an investment, and he's pumped whatever amount of money in it. And when it's time to cash out, he'll cash out for X amount of extra money. And I think
Well,
that's his sole interest.
the thing is, you see, his investment can start paying heavy dividends to him. You got to remember now, he is something like 80% shareholder of Royal Mail, and he's 27% or 30% now, isn't it, of West Ham.
Who's that?
Sorry, you are talking about Kretinsky, aren't you?
Kretinsky's got what, 27, 20? Oh no, he's
I
got
think
maybe over
it's 30
30%
now.
now. Yeah, it might be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, he's got 30% stake in West Ham United. He's got an 80% or 80+% stake in Royal Mail. Where do you think Royal Mail are going to want their next advertising agency, advertising board to be on our shirts. They're going to start phasing out betting sponsors. So we're going to be looking for alternatives to betting sponsors. Royal Mail is nailed on to be our next main sponsor, shirt sponsor. Nailed on now. So there's going to be money going in Krasinski's pocket from both angles, if you know what I mean. And I think that's either a way of him, getting money back on his investment, because let's be fair, the shares of West Ham must have gone down in value in the last few months heavily.
I'm not. I think what you've got to look at is how much he invested and how much what he's invested now. Now, if I don't think it will have gone down heavily, I think they were sort of punting the club around about 800 million to a billion, and I think they might have overcooked it a little bit. But even if it was around 750 billion, still going to million, it's still going to be about 700 million that they want for it now. So if he gets a return on his investment, that's what he's right. It's like what you could have had in it. It was worth this much, but it's only written down. It's only when you cash it in that you get the benefit of that. So
I believe what his investment was something like 180 million, 145 million, I think it might have been actually, for his 27% stake. That's what I was, somewhere around there. It's 100 plus million, but not quite two. Somewhere between, 1 and 2. So yeah, I think you're right. I think they were valuing it at around 750 at the time. Somewhere around there.
Usual here saying apparently after the interview, Sullivan didn't rate him. I don't know. Are you referring to Potter there? Usual.
I know. I think he might even be
Fonseca even.
Fonseca, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But with the Potter thing, I mean, he wants to put him on a 6-month deal, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And if Potter doesn't want to take a 6-month deal, can you blame him for that?
No, not in the slightest.
And if he's saying, I want a 2.5-year deal, is that outrageous for the guy to want a deal like that? It's not it's not like I want a 6-year deal, is it?
No, but then also, it is also fair and due diligence of the club, I have to say to Potter, no, look, we want to put you on a 6-month deal with the promise of a 3-year deal if you keep us where we want to be, keep us away from relegation, perhaps even creep up to the top 10, maybe. Do you know what I mean? If you can do that in the last 6 months of this season, I'll give you a 3-year deal, all the money you need, blah, 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 blah. The usual bullshit that Sullivan would come out with. That's not unfair of the club, in my opinion.
Yeah. Amarin's got like a 2.5-year deal, or 3-year deal. That's what he came in on.
Yeah.
And Loppy had a 2-year deal with a year's option, and a lot of the reaction to that was, it's not really a very serious. What can he do in that? So for Potter, for his own sake, and if it don't work out for him to get his payoff, he's going to want a contract that looks something like that. 2.5 years. I don't blame him. I think it's fair enough. We're talking about other channels.
To want that.
Yeah, we were talking about other channels earlier. I heard Gio say something. I think it was last night. I was watching one of his videos, and it did make me smile what he said, because he said basically, right, Potter's gone away to think about it,
yeah,
and he's saying Potter's got the power of whether Lopetegui's sacked or not in his hands really now. It's not Sullivan who's making that decision. It's Potter.
Um,
That's kind
yeah,
of great.
I
And,
suppose
in a
if you look
twisted
at it,
way, it is,
if
and it
you
just
look at
made me
it like
chuckle,
that,
right?
yeah, then yeah, basically Potter's got his finger on the trigger. Yeah, definitely. And if he says no, then the trigger's not pulled. But um, yeah, I get that. I do get that. But then, you know, would you expect a lot less from David Sullivan?
The
You
thing
know?
is, it's actually I'm almost surprised at how low he's going with this, but I'm not that surprised because this is the caliber of them.
Mm.
They
You know
are
who's doing
horrible
the Potter
bastards.
negotiations now, don't you? From today onwards. This was also
Brady, I heard.
yes. Now, if anybody can get a deal done, it is her. I got to be honest, right? That woman can, could close the bloody Suez Canal if she was asked to. Do you know what I mean? She is very, very powerful negotiator. Um, not saying that I like her or that I want her at our club, but she is a powerful negotiator, and that is one good thing about her. So if anybody's going to get the deal done, it will be her. But she'll also on the other side of the foot, or the other foot on the other shoe, or whatever the case may be, she's also hardline. No nonsense. It's either you have what I've presented to you, or you can take the door. She is very much like that as well. But she makes a good point for what she's selling. Now, I think with her in charge of the Potter deal, it's nailed on. Personally,
Okay, Ian, so just reading this comment from Ian here. He says,
yeah.
I suspect this will rumble on. I also think Potter may hold out for a longer deal with Everton. They must be more attractive than what Sully is offering. It may serve us right too. So there's a few
Mhm.
things there, but rumoured Everton may be interested.
Yeah.
And what I heard today, and it's all rumours, same as ours, 3-year deal or something like that. New
Mhm.
stadium, they reckon they're going to have some money to spend, etc., etc. I don't know if Everton are more attractive to us, but I would say it's not necessarily an unattractive proposition.
No, there's a brand new stadium to move into.
And you've got to factor in the Sully factor. Because look how low. Like, even if Potter's in the background dealing with them, considering whether to take the position, it's not going to go unnoticed how scummy they behave, right? It's not the first time. They've got history for it. Yeah. He must be thinking to himself, and this is why I would say, why would he? I hear they're trying to broker a deal now with break clauses in it, and there's that. Basically, a way for them to rig it. You wouldn't blame Potter in the end if he just goes, look, this is what I'm looking for. If you're not interested in it, that's fine. I'll walk away. I don't know if he will. He'll probably get announced tomorrow, but Sullivan's a fucking snake.
He is. The worst thing about Sullivan is he don't fucking hide it. He don't hide it. He lets you know he's a snake, And I've got to
Saying
be
there's a
honest with
two
you.
and a half deal, but I had three, but you know, whatever. It's all rumours in it.
Yeah. I've got to be honest. I at this moment in time, thank you. I would rather deal with Brady than I would Sullivan anyway.
I'd
Because,
rather they both left the club, but
well, yeah,
that's not
yeah,
likely to
yeah.
happen, is it? It's.
Brady isn't so much of a bull in a china shop type businessman or businesswoman. I think Karen Brady's a lot more palatable. if you like.
Do you? I think
Yeah.
she's a horrible piece of work.
Well, yeah, I
I
mean,
think the
she's not a
pair of them
nice
are, but
person.
I don't have a high
She's not a
opinion of
nice
either.
person particularly, but I think, you know, as I said, she's a powerful negotiator, and
Yeah, she is.
I would rather work with somebody like that than someone who's going to offer you a box of dildos on top of your deal. You know,
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I know you like tongue in
he's a
cheek, the
clown, mate.
dildo comment and all that, and I get it. I get it. And listen,
He's an
look at
absolute
him.
clown.
How many deals has he fucked up, right? There's hardly a club in Europe he hasn't alienated, is there? Or not a country in Europe he hasn't alienated a club in anyway.
I know.
I mean, he's awful, right? But yeah, no, I don't really like her. You know, I'll refer you back to Avram Grant. I mean, it was she probably quite enjoyed stepping on the coach, trying to fucking tell him to get off of it. She's a fucking horrible piece of work. I think I think she's a scumbag. I think they're all scumbags. I think he's a scumbag as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Oh, Ian says it was Sally that he was referring to.
All right. She's a great negotiator out here. She's best friends with Potter's wife. How will that work if he needs sacking in the future? Not sure she should be negotiating this. All right. Well, that is only hearsay, though, Ian. To be fair, there is no concrete proof of that. And you know, look, I would rather she was the one negotiating than Sullivan. I have to be honest. You know, like I said, I'd rather deal with her than him if it was
I
me.
don't disagree on the negotiation side. She's definitely a better negotiator than he is.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
for sure.
She's a lot more
Colin,
palatable, you know, in the way that she is actually, like I said, she's quite hardline, but she's up front with it. He's not. You know, if you're in the middle of something with her, I mean, I can only go by what I've seen on that apprentice thing, you know. But like, if she doesn't like your line or what you're selling her or whatever, she'll let you know straight away. You won't bully me, right? You might be able to convince me, but you'll never bully me, you know. And I just like that about her. You know, she won't be backed into a corner, you know.
well, I mean, I know it's a TV show and all the rest of it, but I mean, the way she goes on about fucking integrity and this, that, and the other, and looking after clients and customers, the way she does on The Apprentice, and then way she treats the fans who are her customers and clients, right? Seem
Yeah,
two different things. I tell you what, how many people would demand a fucking refund in the stadium if they were on The Apprentice and they had the option, say, oh, no, you didn't bring what was delivered to me, yeah? You didn't
yeah,
promise what you said you were going to deliver. I want a refund. I think there'd be a lot of people queuing up for a fucking refund, wouldn't there?
yeah, yeah. Tens of thousands of them.
Colin says, gents, to me, Loppy would have grounds to take Sullivan and the club to court after the way he is being treated. Here's the thing, Colin. I think he is being treated appallingly. And I think if they keep pushing and going the way they're going, he probably's got some grounds for some kind of claim. But I don't think it's going to come to that because I think they will actually sack him eventually,
Yeah,
right? Probably tomorrow because they've moved the press conference now from tomorrow to Thursday, I heard earlier. So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, not that says that Loppy's getting sacked tomorrow, but I don't know what to make of it all. But I think they will sack him
mm,
before they have to go to court. I just think they're doing it's so shitty. That's all.
yeah, yeah.
Usual is in agreement regards Brady and Sullivan.
Yeah.
And Toha says constructive dismissal, Colin, especially if he walks.
Mm-hmm.
And
Seen
Toha
you
says,
guys.
question, are you Jeff, or will we just follow Happy's lead and call you Ralph. If it matters to you, Toher, it's Jeff with a J. But it doesn't really matter to me. And if you want to follow Happy's lead and call me Ralph, I
I
really
was
don't mind that
yesterday.
either.
I called you Jeff, spelt it with a G, and then I thought, oh, fuck it, I can't remember if it's G or J. So I bollocks to it. I'm going to use Ralph. It's easier. At least you know who I'm talking to.
Colin says, Jeff and Budget, how about Baroness Brady, the new transfer negotiator? I'm not sure about that.
No. Maybe negotiating the price for players, but not identifying the players. For me, the man I want in that job, identifying the players, is not Tim Steidten anymore. I've got a lot less confidence in his ability to choose a pearl. He's not as much of a pearl diver as we all believe he is, in my opinion. I want Mark Noble in that position because he will know the kind of players that will thrive under our banner, under our badge.
Like Grady Diangana.
Exactly.
I, yeah, well, he didn't really thrive, did he? And he didn't go on to
No,
thrive
but
anywhere else.
but he was
Uh,
showing promise and we sold him at the right time.
we did, but Noble made a right fuss about that, right?
He did. And I think if he'd have stayed with us, he would have continued to progress.
I'm not so
I
sure.
believe he would have done. But Mark Noble does know a player when he sees one, mate.
But I do beat him with that stick a little bit, perhaps a little bit unfairly.
Yeah.
But Stuyton, well, I think he was overhyped coming into the football club. I think he was credited with some achievements that there's not much evidence for. I think we all probably got caught along on the bandwagon and the wave of it all and embraced it a little bit rather than questioned it more.
Yeah.
Moyes was to blame for Stuyton not being able to do his thing in the transfer window previously. He was the barrier, and Stuyton was offering him this player and that player, and he was blocking them all, allegedly. So then we had Moyes removed. Then it was going to be Stuyton's summer transfer window. And then, if it's to be believed, he
Only
kind of
selected a
was
third of
involved,
them.
but didn't select all the etc. etc. In which case, he's been undermined again by whomever that may be. It's looking like there's only going to be one person who's undermining him from there. Can't be Lopetegui, right? Lopetegui's the new kid on the block, the one who was recruited by all of them, even if Stuyton did or didn't object. The structure's in place. He's the technical director or director of football. There's no
Yeah.
question marks over, oh, I'm the manager and I've got veto. It was completely new setup. So there's no reason for this huge conflict that seems to be reported, in my view.
Well, there is only one reason for it. The board don't understand the concept of the process they've put in place. And the board are getting involved unnecessarily and allowing the manager to get involved unnecessarily when it should all be DOT, a director of football or director of transfers or whatever you want to call him. It should be him, regardless who it is, should be a one-man thing with he has his own assistants and whatever else. But like I said, they've implemented a system in the club, brand new, going to have some teething problems anyway, but they're getting too heavily involved in it. They're not
Okay,
allowing the process to work.
so then that cuts Steidl some slack, right? Because he was undermined by the previous manager,
Yeah,
if we believe what we're all led to believe.
yeah,
And now he has had his wings clipped in this summer transfer window. And that's prior to the latest clipping of the wings and readjustment of his role, if that's to be believed, right?
right.
So he hasn't really had opportunity to fulfill the role that he's supposed to do. So I'll
Yeah.
defend him on that front. However, he
Yes.
has been involved in all of these transfers and the rebuilding of West Ham and who have come in. And along with the Kudus and Alvarez that we were all very pleased about, he's also been responsible for bringing in Mavropanos, who doesn't look like he's going to make the grade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Soler, who, let's be
Soler's
honest,
jury's
everybody's
out.
still 50-50 on him, which is fair.
Rodriguez definitely doesn't
Rodriguez,
look like a Premier League
I
footballer. The
think
pace is
I
too
think
quick for him, right?
80% of West Ham fans would agree with that statement.
So he's not
Aaron
completely
Wan-Bissaka,
clean. He's not completely, but he's got credit in the bank for some of it, but he deserves criticism equally
for others,
for part of it.
yeah, of course.
And we can't just he can't be it's all his fault or is the Messiah. If he's been interfered with and he hasn't been able to do his job properly, he's not been able to fulfill his role completely. But he has got his fingerprints over lots of stuff that he has to take responsibility for. So if you take my view on Stighton, he probably hasn't been allowed to do his job properly and he's probably fell short a little bit on what he should be doing. Now,
Yeah,
whether that's fair or unfair, that's kind of where I'm at with
yeah,
him.
we
And
probably
if he
had
left
about
in the summer,
75% of him, haven't we?
if he left in the summer, I think I'd kind of shrug my shoulders and go, I'm not that bothered
Yeah,
on what the evidence that I've got for the time that he's been here.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I don't know why, but for some reason, we seem to miss out on all the Far Eastern players that are very useful. Okay, the like, not Son per se, but, Koreans and some of the the Japanese players that are coming up to the fore and stuff, we seem to bypass them. We don't really ever get linked with them.
It's quite a new market, though, isn't it? Really? Like I know
Yeah,
we've
but
got one or two established players.
it's a market we should be dipping into, mate. The
I don't
prices
disagree with
of
that.
those players, the prices of those players at their club levels over in Korea and Japan, the Philippines and places like that. Now I know people might laugh, yeah, all right, the Philippines, but look, the first time we ever saw a true like Japanese superstar was not Japanese, sorry, Korean superstar was Park Ji-sung, I think, really, to be fair, at Manchester United. And I think they paid peanuts for him. What a player he turned out to be. Like this young lad that's at Brighton right now. I forget his name now.
You're on about Mitoma.
Mitoma. I mean, what a great player he is.
Yeah.
Park, what's his name? Heung-min Son. Great player. There are others that the one at Wolves, Wee Chang Yang or whatever it is, another great player. See,
It's all
this is
right picking out the gems, though, isn't it? But it's a bit like going about Ghana and going Kudus. But
yeah,
if you
but
look at
then
the rest of
history.
Ghana,
There's
and the
been a
rest
history
of
of
Ghana
great
too, right,
Ghanaian players.
is littered with shit, right? So, of course, there's these diamonds out there and on every continent, right? And it
Yeah,
doesn't mean
but
we should
we're not
dismiss
looking
these
for them though.
markets.
That's
But
my point, Jeff. We're not looking for them.
you're using like the established, like the real gems. Like you got to really, where's the up and coming? Where's the new players? Mitoma's one, right?
Yeah.
How many others are there in the Premier League?
Like I said, that Wang Chen or whatever his name is
Yeah,
that plays
but
for Wolves.
he's quite well established though, isn't he? He's not really up and coming, is he?
I
He's
don't
not
know,
like
he's
a
only
discovery,
23.
is he?
He's only 23, 24.
Is he as young as that?
Yeah,
He's had a lot of injuries, isn't he? For
yeah,
someone as young as that, I didn't realise
yeah.
that.
Maybe 25, Jeff. I'm guessing, but I'm fairly confident that he's in his mid-20s somewhere. You know, and sort of like the earlier part of the mid-20s. if you like. He's not like 27, if you like. It's not as far as I know, anyway.
Let's have a look what Ian's saying.
But there are on the continent. There are a handful of really good Korean players. We actually played up against a decent Japanese player when we were playing in the Europa League. Endo? No, I can't remember his blinking name, but he was playing. Oh, anyway, there are,
Yeah,
but it's just, I just think that, a lot of people are concentrating on the African players at the moment and stuff. Whereas I think there are some very clever clubs out there that are finding these gems in Korea, in Japan, maybe China, I don't know. And, I think West Ham should be looking into that because they're far more affordable, which will please Sullivan,
I don't know why we have to go so far afield. I mean, you look at the Scandinavian countries, right? There's plenty of talent there. Do you
You
know
don't
what?
have to look
They
in
they
China
tend
and Korea, though.
they tend to adapt to the Premier League very well. Scandinavian players,
Yeah.
yeah. So why do we want our players going off in international duty all round, going around to play their home games in the other Southeast Asia, right? Never mind where else their away games are, when they could be skip a ferry ride away from their home game. So, there's lots of markets perhaps we should be exploring, right? We should be looking for gems everywhere.
Oh, I'm not saying we should fill the
Truth,
squad up with
truth
Japanese
is,
and Korean players, but
we don't find any fucking gems, do we? Unless
no.
they're
Well,
25 million quid and unproven. Anyway, let's get back to Ian's comment. He says, I don't believe there is any other Premier League club that acts the way we constantly do. I'm so bored of the lack of class. Circus is apt. Can't argue
100%,
with any of
mate.
that.
I think that's comment of the night, that one.
And I usually says Newcastle are 1-0 up. Isaac, I've got that on in the background. I'm probably a bit behind, but it's just coming up to half time for me. They haven't quite blown yet, so looks like 1-0 at half time.
Yeah. Alexander Isak, great player. Love him.
Ian says, good. I'm not ready for number 41 to win silverware yet. Good evening, Howard. Thanks for joining us.
Evening, Howard.
Colin asks, Budgie, what I do know that Mark Noble did actually recommend Alvarez and Kudus, and this came from his father, who he knows. I've heard that rumor before. I can't say how much. Colin can probably say with more accuracy than I can how true that is.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I do know for a fact that when Mark Noble has been in conversation with people, interviews or whatever, pitch side and stuff like that, I know that he's actually mentioned Ajax a few times. And I think he tends to lean towards Ajax as his favoured Dutch club, if you like, and probably watches them more than any of the other Dutch clubs. So therefore, he would have identified Kudus as being a great player, Alvarez as being a great player. He probably did identify that and probably spoke to whoever and said, look, these are players I think maybe we could have a look at, And the fact that the club have also got really good relationship with Ajax.
Yeah.
How, with that clown in charge, is beyond me, but we do. We have a very good repertoire with them.
Ian just saying about Stuyton. He says, yes, I agree. Stuyton may not be what we thought he may be, but he has also been treated poorly. Can't believe he hasn't walked. I did hear it said the other day that might actually be a goal of the club, and that just another sign of their underhandedness, that they're not especially happy with him. They'd rather try and force him out than move him on.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just low lives.
What do you make, Jeff? What do you make of the story going around that Steidon has been banned from the training ground?
Well, I've heard that is true. Um, Smacks of, well, what I've heard is not through any sources or anything, just through the rumour mill that everyone
Yeah,
else can
yeah, yeah,
listen to. Not claiming anything here. What I heard is lots of the players, especially the players that Tim was involved in signing, were, going, and it's been going on for a while. Lopetegui's been felt for a while that he's being undermined, and players going and talking to Tim directly to air their views and this, that, and the other. I don't think any of this reflects well on Lopetegui, by the way. We look at all the fallouts with players, and then you look at he had fallouts at Wolves and one thing or another. So there's a pattern to it. So I'm not just giving Lopetegui a pass in all of this, but it's happened again. Happened with Moyes.
yeah.
I don't know what he does in the tunnel, talking to people all the time down there with. I don't, is that his role? I don't know, but
Well,
I
look,
don't think that's what he should be doing.
when he was at Dortmund, there was often. I watch quite a lot of German football sometimes because it's on at a time of night when I can actually sit and watch it. And I have to be honest. I think that Steiden hasn't changed from when he was at Dortmund. Because when he was at Dortmund, he was always there with the manager, walking up the tunnel with him, and quite often would stand and chat to him before he would walk out of the tunnel, and so on and so forth. Often saw images of them together and him talking to players, walking up the tunnel with players.
Yeah,
So
so I
he
say it might be
hasn't.
normal behaviour for him, right? It might be
It
just,
is,
but
it is
for,
completely, from what I remember of him.
for us, it's like an alien thing. You don't see any other director of footballs in the Premier League hanging around
No, they're
down
up
the
in the boxes
touchline
normally.
and in the tunnel talking to players before games and stuff. Like, it, it seems odd behaviour in this country. And it might be perfectly normal and natural
Yeah,
for him to do that. And I don't know. And even
yeah.
if it is, I'm still not sure that I agree with it.
Listen, I'm not sure that I agree with it, but it is a fresh approach. It's a new approach,
I mean,
and
last year when it was Steiton's been banned from the dressing room, right, before games,
yeah,
my reaction was, what the fuck's he doing in the dressing room anyway?
yeah.
Lots of people were defending him, going, "Oh, Moyes, this, that," and I thought, I don't fucking blame him. That's not
It was
the.
any stick to beat Moyes with at that point, though, wasn't it,
Yeah, it
Jeff?
was, but that's not his environment, the dressing room.
No, it's
Fuck
not.
off
It's
back
not
in your office and do
unless,
some scouting, mate.
yeah,
That's what I'd
yeah,
be saying if I was the manager.
unless of course, that that there could also be this, right, I'm walking up with this player and this player today because that player knows that player on the opposite team and this player knows those players on the opposite team. I want to know what they think of them and should we be looking at them and things like, there could be some element of that. Maybe I'm just dreaming. I don't know. But
What, and the
what
conversation,
I'm
that time
saying
for that
is that,
conversation is in the dressing room before a game.
is it
Come
though?
on.
Is it?
It's,
While the manager is, giving them their pre-team talk, pre-game talk,
yeah,
why not while you're walking up the tunnel towards the pitch?
I
Why
just,
not?
I'm just, anyway, I'm going to let you read this out because I'm not sure if Howard's trying to catch me out or not. So, where you go, Budge?
Right. I'm not going to say it either. I'm just going to read it. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Uh,
So have you seen who Chelsea have got in the Carabao Cup this weekend?
No, FA
Morecambe.
Cup.
FA
Morecambe.
Cup, sorry. Morecambe, yeah. At Chelsea. Lucky sods. We get drawn Aston Villa.
Yeah. Ian says our last two managers wouldn't play any of these pearls. Look at Guilherme. We don't know if he is any good. I I kind of subscribe to that a little bit. We don't really know if Guilherme is any good. What I would say is where he's plays, but how does he get in front of the people in front of him? He doesn't play in front of Bowen, does he? He doesn't play in
No,
front of
no, but
Evans.
Bowen's got a broken foot now.
So now he gets some opportunity, right? But obviously, Ian's referring to we don't know how good he is, if he's any good, because basically we haven't seen him as yet.
Yeah.
But part of the reason we haven't seen him is because he's got Kudus Bowen in front of him, and Somerville's only just breaking into the team, and he looks really bright when he's been involved, doesn't he?
Yes, he
So
does.
it's quite difficult for him to get in. But now, with Bowen being out,
Mhm.
there might be some opportunities for him. And guess what?
You see, the
There's
other
going to be a
thing is,
change of manager, right? There is going to be a change of manager. It's just a
the,
matter of
the
when.
other thing is, of
So
course,
who
is that,
knows?
yeah, one thing that people are tending to forget is that we haven't brought Guilherme in as a left winger or a right winger. We've brought him in as an attacker. Regardless of where you put him on that front line, he is classified as an attacker. So, in fairness, he has got more opportunity to establish himself if he gets a regular slot anywhere in that front four. If he's good enough, we don't know if he is good enough. We
No,
can't speculate on that. But I actually tend to think that with the reports that I've heard about, I haven't read any of them, but some quite reasonable sources have said that the Brazilian press were raving about him in a way that they were raving about Vinicius Junior and the other lad. What's his name?
yeah, the young one, 17-year-old, didn't he?
Yeah,
Fine,
the one that
fine.
was in
His
the
name
same
escapes me.
age category as Guilherme.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Can't
there
can't
was
think
them
of his
two,
name.
and Vinicius Junior was another one they were raving about, and then obviously before that you've got Neymar and you've got the likes of those, and so you can understand why Tim Steidten would have said, "Yeah, let's have him. He's the one we're going to get. Let's have him." Right? You can understand, but what I can't understand is why is he not getting under 21s or under 18s football?
Well, there were reports earlier on in the season, wasn't there, that he wasn't really training that well, and he wasn't that impressive with. But I mean, you got to take on board as well. He's a young lad coming to a new country,
Left all
new
his family
environment.
behind.
He left, everything. So as much as he's a professional footballer and
Yeah.
all the
But
rest of it,
I mean,
he's still a
I
human
know.
being, right? And these things still affect you, right?
Yeah,
So it might have took a bit of time to settle. I do think your question about if we haven't been using him in the first 11, why hasn't he been used in the under 23s is perfectly valid, and it seems a bit of a mystery. You'd think you'd be wanting to give him some football and
of course you would.
get him playing. So I can't answer why that seems a mystery to me. But I do
It
think we're
does.
going to start seeing a bit more of him now.
Yeah, yeah. And in fairness, he has been struggling to learn the language from reports that I've heard. And so therefore, they've been, I would imagine they've been less inclined to let him go and play in games because he doesn't understand the language and stuff
Fucking
like that.
hell! I mean,
You
Lopetegui
know,
don't fucking understand the language, doesn't he? They put him in
but
charge.
look at Lucas Paqueta. He's always got his
You
head
give Guilherme
tilted,
20
and
minutes because he can't speak the language, can't you? Fucking hell.
yeah,
I don't know
you
if
know,
that's a valid excuse.
well, if they're struggling with the language barrier, then yeah, don't let them do post-match interviews and stuff. But let the man kick a fucking football. You know, to me, that's just craziness. Go on, read the question out.
Ian's got a question. He's a question for you both. Putting the rumours all aside, what are your thoughts on Potter for us? Not my first choice, but if you're giving, if you're, if we are
Go.
going for him,
Yeah.
sorry, wrong glasses. Read that rest of that for me, Buzz,
All
will
right.
you?
Yeah. If we are going for him,
Yeah.
let's tie him down long term and get on with it. He may just work.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
want to go first on that, Budge, or do you want me to?
No, actually, I wouldn't mind if you don't mind.
Okay, fire away, buddy.
I agree with that in principle, Ian.
Hmm.
Completely agree with it in principle. However, I do have a prejudice against Graham Potter in that I don't believe that he's a Premier League manager. All right. Yes, he's had 2 Premier League jobs and he was quite successful at Brighton. And as we spoke about earlier, I believe that maybe 35, 38% of that was down to the coach being Graham Potter. 35% of input into a team isn't enough at West Ham. It showed when he went to Chelsea and he lasted 6 weeks or 8 months or whatever it was he lasted. It weren't even 6 months, was it?
Yeah, Chelsea are a mess, though.
Yeah, agreed. But a good manager would have got them playing football.
Well,
He couldn't.
I,
He couldn't. He had some very talented players under his wing,
no, I
and he
agree on
couldn't
that.
do it.
I don't know if Chelsea's a good reference for.
But, for me, I don't think Graham Potter is a Premier League manager. And
Okay,
therefore, and not that he hasn't got Premier League experience, because he has, right? It isn't that. I don't believe he's at the level of a Premier League manager. I think he would be a reasonably good championship manager and perhaps even win League One hands down. But I'm not so sure that he's any good for the Premier League. So I wouldn't have him. For me, even if he was interim, I really wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be happy.
okay, fair enough. Well, my answer to Ian and my thoughts on Potter is I actually think he's a pretty good coach. I think he's a decent coach. I think he's quite flexible, and I think he does improve players. And get the does he get the best out of players? That's the hard bit, because for me, his teams. My fear. This is my observation about his teams. They struggle to score goals. Once they get to the final third, that's where it all starts to fall down a little bit for Graham Potter's teams. So that's a bit of a worry for me. But I do think he's a good coach, actually.
Mm.
Um, regards to tying him down to a long deal, I mean, we kind of touched on it in our chat earlier. I mean, from Graham Potter's point of view, I don't blame him for saying I want a longer deal and I don't want to come in for 6 months. And what manager worth their salt is going to do a 6 month deal? Just come, yeah, I'll see you. It's not even 6 months, is it? It's barely 6 months. It'll run till June, won't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not 6 months of football, is it? So
Yeah.
I don't see any. You're going to get Cooper or O'Neill maybe that might take a deal like that.
See, O'Neill would
That's
be
my view.
preferable.
Huh?
O'Neill would be preferable to me.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, if that's your view on who's a better coach or who'd be a better
I,
fit for
I'm
West Ham,
not,
I mean, that's that.
look, I'm
I'm
not
not
qualified
arguing with
to say
that.
who's a better coach.
Yeah,
I just think that as a West Ham fan of the length that I have supported this club, I know who would be a better fit. What character would be a better fit in this club? I've never thought that Lopetegui's character was good enough to fit in the club. I thought his managerial style was, and I was wrong. I believed at the beginning that he would change things and that things would be different. I was wrong.
Well, we spoke about
However,
Potter previously. I mean, when we've spoke about it before, for me, um, I don't find him a very inspiring coach. I think he's quite an uninspiring coach, like I say, and I think he's a decent coach.
yeah, but
I'm not
if he's
sure if he's a next
uninspiring
level
like
coach.
yeah,
Huh?
if he's uninspiring to the likes of us,
Yeah, yeah.
what's he going to be like to a professional football player?
Well, I would think the way things are unravelling and the way things are at West Ham at the moment, I think if Graham Potter walked through the door, most of the players would probably be quite relieved. I think they're probably about as desperate for a change as everyone else is.
Yeah, yeah, but it's got to be the right change, Jeff. Really, it's got to be the right change. And, like I said, O'Neill would be the right for an interim. I'm not saying long term, for interim, because his style is, counter attack. He's got, some experience in the Premier League with a struggling team and done reasonably well with them for quite a long period. And I think that he would inspire the players. I think he's quite a progressive person, not his football. I think he himself is quite progressive. I've liked his post-match interviews, even after a terrible defeat. His post-match interviews have always been really good. I've liked them. I've always liked them.
Who's that, Budge?
Sorry?
Who was you saying about?
O'Neill, Gary O'Neill. I
He
like
does
his
speak
approach.
well. You're right. I agree with you
I
there.
like his approach to life.
Can you
And
Can you um, address this comment from
okay, I don't
Toho?
know what can coach this team, but he can produce a nice clay ashtray. So you are
Uh,
mad as a box of frogs, mate. I'm telling you. Jesus. Uh,
uh,
Blowing on the South Downs. Hang on a minute. Howard, whereabouts are you on the South Downs? Because I'm smack bang in the middle of the North and South Downs. Yeah, anyway, go on. Carry on, mate. Sorry.
they're talking about the weather. We might be getting a little bit of weather down here
Oh,
actually
we've had a
tomorrow
bit
as
of
well.
snow here. We've had a bit of snow here. Yeah.
So, well, we'll see if there's any more
I'm not
news.
sure
I
about
mean,
Rivaldo, Howard, because he don't actually play the same kind of football that Rivaldo plays. He's more of, dare I say it, a Pele style player, where he's really good with the ball at his feet. He's got a good shot on him, and he's reasonable with his head. And I think he's just a slighter built Pele type player that will give you just about everything in an attacking player. That's more what Graham is like, I think.
he's quick, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's super bloody quick, you know.
Colin's got a question here. I find it quite interesting, actually, this one.
Yeah.
Why don't we gents go after Iriola? He's on the lowest wages in the Premier League. Surely we could get him on a 2 or 3 year contract.
Right, who's he
And
with at the moment?
he's at Bournemouth, isn't he?
Bournemouth,
Right. And I heard today he's paid £1 million a year.
really?
And you think, I mean, they're talking about Marco Silva and 8 million for a buyout clause and one thing and that. You wouldn't think it costs more than 4 or 5 million to get him out of there, would you?
Probably not even that. Do you know what I mean? It would probably you would probably have to pay Bournemouth the
Yeah, you're gonna have
million
to give
quid,
Bournemouth a bit of compo, and you're gonna have to pay.
yeah,
So let's say it costs 4 or 5 million. Yeah,
4 to 5 million, yeah,
yeah.
probably, yeah.
I don't
That's
know if
4 to
that's
5 million
anywhere.
more than Sullivan will or wants to spend.
Sure, we all know that, right? But that is not like outrageous,
No,
is it? That's not.
no.
It's going to cost 8 to 10 million to get Amorim out of Sporting, and he wants 10 million a year, and all that. We really can't afford all that, and that's like he's paid £1 million a year. If you doubled his wages, right, it'd be cheaper than fucking Lopetegui. Right? If you trebled his wages, it'd be cheaper than Lopetegui. So you're offering 3 million quid, right, and 5 million quid to Bournemouth to get him out of there. I mean, you'd do that, wouldn't you, for that kind of money? I don't believe it's going to happen, but just addressing Colin's comment, and I actually think if that was possible, they should be all over that, but it won't happen.
Yeah.
Potter will probably stick his fingers up at us tomorrow, saying, "Ah, it's all right, I'm going to fuck off to Everton." Sullivan will look like a right mug, yeah, and we'll end up with fucking Steve Cooper. I'm joking, everyone. I'm joking. That's not a prediction.
Yeah.
Tyra's just saying he wouldn't mind Iraola. I don't. I think he'd be quite well received. I would think within the fan base.
Yeah.
Don't really
Haven't
get too
we
many objections.
played against an Iraola side in Europe at some point?
He's Bournemouth manager, isn't he? I don't know. He's
Yeah,
Bournemouth
he is
manager.
now,
Oh yeah.
but I'm talking about in a previous job.
I don't even
I'm
know where he
sure
was
we
before.
played against him.
No idea, but you'll have to rack your brains for that.
German side, I think. I don't. Hang on, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up Google Chrome.
Do that. But while you're doing that, just address. But Howard's got another question for you. He wants your
Okay.
recommendation on this player.
Yeah, go on.
Have I not put it on the screen?
No,
Oh, there you go.
Indonesian lad, 4 cats. Chuk, Dunham, Lungdong. Oh, for God's sake. I'm sorry I ever fucking said anything now. Right, okay,
Excuse me.
so
Ian
let's
says,
see.
absolutely, Colin. Either him, I guess it's talking about Iraola, or Frank. But for me, preferably Marco Silva. But Sully just won't pay the money on a manager. Very short-sighted. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not going to buy out Marco Silva. I've actually got no idea what it would cost to get Frank out of Brentford. Um, and I know I know you're quite a fan of it. I know Tony, who pops on with us, is a huge
Yeah.
fan of Thomas Frank. I've seen it quite a lot in people's chats. He'd be another popular choice. I think I might actually prefer Iraola to Frank. Um, but I don't think I'd turn my nose up at Frank if it come to it.
Oh, right. I was wrong about us having played against one of his teams before. I just remembered that he was the manager of AEK Larnaca before the 20s in 2018-19. So we haven't played against him. It's just that we played against a team that he has managed before. Right. So Iraola, he's reasonably new to. Well, he is new to the Premier League. He's finding his footing. It's very difficult. He's not got a great big budget. He hasn't got a top 10, top 15 team in his belt. So it's a very difficult, very, very difficult job for him to manage at Bournemouth. I understand that. But West Ham is a very, very different pony, very different horse, and I think that Thomas Frank, with his 4-5 seasons in the Premier League, would be a much more suitable candidate for West Ham, purely because he's got the Premier League experience at a really, really good level as well, playing some great football, producing great players that have gone on to bigger and better things, and and attracting some great players from other teams in the Premier League. Let's not forget they've, signed a few players from other Premier League teams, So Thomas Frank at Brentford has done brilliantly, better than anyone ever gave him credit for when they first came up.
I think it's fair to say both Frank and Iraola have both done brilliantly, respectively, at their clubs.
They have. They certainly have. But for me, I think Frank is a better option because of the longevity of his measured success. Is that a fair way of putting it? Measured success, I suppose.
Yeah, success is kind of subjective, I guess.
Yeah.
What success? Yeah. What is success for Brentford, for example? Won't
Being in
equate
the
to
top
success
15
for
every
Chelsea,
season.
will it? So
Yeah.
it is relative. Howard's just, I'll put that up in case you missed that comment.
15 miles east of Winchester. Okay. Bit further out than I thought, but yeah, nice, lovely.
Well, we've made it down to the bottom of the chat, Budge, and we've been on for an hour and coming up hour and 20 minutes now. So unless you've got anything that you desperately want to add, I'm kind of running out of things. We've kind of done Lopetegui and spoke about Potter and how low Sullivan and the board are, and there's not much else to say, is there?
No, not really. Like obviously, I hope everybody had a good New Year and Christmas period. We've not been on over that period, so I hope everybody had good time and stayed safe and healthy.
Absolutely second that.
Yeah. Also, just in case you didn't know, Old School Hammers tomorrow night on West Ham Network. I've got Sebastian Schemmel joining us.
Oh, fantastic. I will catch up with that, Budgie.
Yeah. So that's from 10 o'clock onwards. I know it's a bit later than your usual shows, Jeff, but I'm sure you'll be allowed to stay up.
Yeah, no, it's darts night. That's the only reason I'll have to catch up with it, because darts on a Wednesday. So I'll have to I'll catch up with it Thursday.
All right, mate, no problem. And yeah, I hope everybody's staying warm, because it's starting to get really cold and we're looking at another bit of snow.
We are, yeah.
Wrap up,
I'll just
everybody.
say thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks for all joining us after a bit of a break. So it's lovely to see you all back. No show for me next week because we're playing Tuesday night. So it'll be a couple of weeks before we're back again. So don't tune in next week. I'm sure you won't be tuning in to me 8 o'clock next week. Everyone will be
watching the game,
watching us against Fulham.
But here's the thing, Jeff. How about you come on Old School Hammers next week?
It's a Wednesday though, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're going to be playing darts. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. All right, mate. Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so thanks all you guys. Good to see you all. Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. And thanks for joining me, Budge.
No worries, mate. I'm always happy to join you, mate. Not always able, but always happy to.
Cheers, buddy.
No worries. Take care.
See you later.
Bye.